injury
I was
that
working at
year?
the juvenile jail, and as I'm working there, I'm like, I love working with the youth, love working with the kids, but I'm like, I just felt there was just something more. So I
Hmm.
began this nutrition certification, maybe 2014, 2015. So I passed it. I'm like, okay, now what? Like, what do I do with it? You just get it, and then what? So I got this personal training certification and started working at this local gym in over in Menor Elite Sports
Yeah.
Performance and Fitness that mainly specialized with athletes.
You
But
had this vision of where you wanted to go and all the accomplishments that you were already looking forward to having your senior year because you were a great athlete. You put the work in and you deserve these things. But then when an injury like that occurs again, just sets you to a different direction in your life. And for you, it gives me great pleasure knowing that you choose to listen to this episode on the John Gardina Classroom. My mission is to serve the Lord by creating content that will help you in your journey of life. If you want one-on-one coaching or would like to be part of my 40 Days of Deliverance program, please visit my website at johngardina.com. Also, if you would like to give a financial gift to help the show grow or provide the funds for the editing process and publishing of the show, it would truly be appreciated. Lastly, God has given me a vision to have a place in the woods with cabins to enjoy fellowship, healing, along with outdoor activities with others. If you have land and feel compelled by the Lord to donate some to make this vision a reality, please email me. I will have all the information available in the show notes. Thank you and enjoy this episode. All right, welcome to the John Gardina Classroom. I have a very special guest who is close to me in proximity. We met through the social media platform of Instagram and find out that I am teaching at the same school that his son is going to. So it's just a small world and how you navigate through the channels of social media. His name is Nick Krantz. He is a husband and father of 3 boys. He's a coach, nutrition optimization coach, 2-time traumatic brain injury survivor, and 18-time concussion champ. He ran an online training nutrition coaching business until his second TBI in December of 2019 and was forced to heal and continue his coaching business. He since has made an incredible progress, still coaching and building his foundation to spread awareness to athletes about the second impact syndrome. So, Nick, it's so great to have you on the classroom today. So, I'm excited for this conversation. I really
yeah,
am.
man, I appreciate you having me on, John. It's good to connect, and it's funny how small the world is sometimes.
It really is. And I always believe in divine intervention of how people connect. And it's nice to know that today you're really going to educate people in the world of brain injuries and also optimization of health. So I'm going to start with a post that you had on social media recently. You said, when your brain is sick, you become very vulnerable and become physically and mentally weak with energy and being the person that people remembered you as. And then you go on to say that you just have to continue to show up, especially on days you don't feel like it. So go ahead. What did you mean by that post the other day?
Yeah, I think it's hard for people to see. I think when somebody injures, like has a broken arm, you can visibly see it. Okay, they have a cast on their arm. You're like, oh, how'd you break your arm? How long's recovery? Okay, 6 to 8 weeks. But throughout this past, almost 3 years now, I had said it the other day. I was like, I could step into a room and I could look as one of the healthiest, if not the healthiest. But on the flip side, I'm also the sickest, and nobody would know any difference, because when you have an injury to your head, especially to your brain, things change. Things change rapidly with your mental health, emotional health, physical health. Because so when your brain is sick, your body will let you know. You think you throw out your back is one thing. You throw out your brain, it's a totally different thing. And I always believed in showing up, no matter what on the day is. Dating back to really coming into of like high school sports and college sports, like you still have to show up to do the work, go to the classroom. Um, but when it comes to the game of life, it's a totally different ball game, played with all different rules, and it's thrown at you, and you don't know when it's coming. And that's kind of really what happened over the last 3 years. That I still have three kids that I need to show up for. Is it more difficult to take? If it takes all my energy just to shower one day, I'm throwing up because I have to do the dishes, and like that's a task in itself. Like that totally changes to like your mindset of like bringing you down to your knees of like what is going on. Like you're a man that's trying to provide, that's trying to lead, that's trying to be the figure in the household, but you can't even take care of yourself. And so when I would sometimes go places, I had to put on a front of like I'm good, I'm healthy, especially online at first. Still trying to run a business. I didn't know what was really I didn't know what I was in store for because I've been through this before a decade ago, but this was something totally different. And it's like you have to put on this front to pretend. And I think in the long run, it definitely hurt. But at certain times, I had to put on a front that I'm okay, that I'm healing, I'm happy. But in the grand scheme of things, your healing journey is never linear. You learn a lot along the way. It
Hmm.
sucks in the moment, and at most times you have to embrace the suck because if there's one thing, it's temporary. All this is temporary, but it only happens if you continue to show up every day. And it's always a work in progress, but it all starts in your mind. But said when your brain is sick, it's hard for your mind to think clearly, to orchestrate any type of thought that's uh, trying to go in the right direction. So it's just an absolute fight between you and your body.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine going through that many concussions. And so everyone knows if we use the term or acronym TBI, we're talking about traumatic brain injury. So, Nick, in 2019, you said December is when you had your second TBI. Can you let's go back in time to when you actually had your first, maybe let's start concussion and then kind of walk through the journey of your head injuries, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
so I actually thought of one time I got knocked out when I was like 10, just on a bike, but like that was like nothing compared to really what I view as my concussion history starting in college. And that's actually there's a video of me getting run over by Travis Kelsey in high school, and I don't know how that didn't
Oh,
give me a concussion, but like I went from standing up to the ground in I think like point 0.4 seconds. He did fall over, so I was credited a tackle, so maybe that all worked out. Um, but in college, it was week two. I remember um, it was almost end of the practice because we were getting ready to head up to Michigan Tech, which is 14 hours away. It's like in Canada, in the UP of Michigan,
mhm.
and just getting ready to close practice and going against a scout player and basically threw the ball to the receiver. The whistle was blown, but he kept running at me. So I'm like, oh, so I put my head straight down and I just absorbed it all with the crown of my head. He fell, but I stood there and was like, okay, I just saw purple. Something's not right. So I went to the sideline. I'm like, hey man, yo, I just saw like purple. Like I think I have a concussion. Like, because at that time we just started taking these tests. And we're all like, we've all had our bell rung. This like, no, Krantz, you good, man, you good. I'm like, oh, you're right, you're right. So 2 days later, on a 14-hour trip in between, we head up to the UP, and it was like a 40-degree different. It was such a weird day in Painesville. In that game, it
Hmm.
was
And what college, Nick, I'm sorry, just to give
okay. Yeah, yeah.
clarification, what college did
I
you play
played at
for?
Lake Erie College right
And-
there in Painesville. Um,
Okay, and what year was this? What year was this?
so the year of the injury was 2010. I played from 2009 to 2013.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, and I went up to the UP, and I remember it was a 17 play drive, and I was the only one that doesn't get a sub, so I'm playing, and I just remember I just couldn't get hyped up for the game. I was like a walking zombie, but I'm like, yeah, like I'm okay, like just nothing was working. I was just a straight just fog. It turns out you go into a game concussed, you're not gonna have the best time. So there was a one
Yeah.
play. The last play I remember, they just ran trips to the field and had a guy coming across, and I caught him. He caught the ball, and I caught him same time, and just head to head, and I just decked him because I played rough. I played. It's kind of where I got my emotions out, where my anger was basically thrown to the wolves. And right after that play, I know there was an open gap as there's still film. Me and a running back hit head to head, and my buddy said when he went down to smack me and said, like, good job, basically. He said, like, my eyes were crossed and there was just boogers coming out of my nose. But you fast forward to the
Jeez.
last play in that drive, I never came off the field, and you just see I was supposed to make a call, and everybody went to the right, and you just see me collapse to the left. And I just get up and run to the sideline, and my dad was at that game and was trying to tell people that something was wrong. And yeah, it turns out I couldn't see, don't really remember, but yeah, and that resulted in my first TBI because of the second impact syndrome of having two concussions. Like you said, your own journey of having
Mm-hmm.
two in the same month. If you have, and I had, 2, 3, 4, 5 that just add up so quick like that. And yeah, it took me 8, 10 months just to return back to any type of activity because of course I was going to try and play again.
Yeah. And what year was this in your college career?
This was my junior year. And so
Okay.
things were really starting to click. Things were really starting to look up. And said at the time I have a 3-year-old. So I didn't think past school. I was like, I just want to try and play football forever. Like, give me a shot.
Yeah.
And so, I really didn't have any type of, uh, my dad was there, but I never had somebody to kind of give me advice on what to do. All my coaches were beyond, uh, like there for me. I mean, no question. I just never had that man in my life to like pull me aside and give me any lessons. And I think that's where I really try and instill in my own, time as a father now of like, just all the things that I wish I had and that I kind of adopted into my own lifestyle of being a parent.
Of-
But yeah, I mean that's really
Yeah.
what really happened in the first rodeo.
Yeah. So you're going through college, like, I played college sports too. I played at John Carroll baseball and did not have a concussion during that time.
Good.
And I'll be honest, I was a better football player than I was baseball. And the reason why I chose not to play football is because I knew I wasn't big enough. I always had the heart to play. I loved playing football, but I knew that something bad might happen. So just like you went through your experience, just letting it all out, you said your emotions, just really getting it out there and getting after it. And it seemed like the coaches knew that you were a headhunter. So no pun intended,
Yeah.
but just going after players. So for you, your journey was, you get your TBI, you have these multiple concussions as well. So after your first TBI and you play your senior year, kind of walk through that year. Did anything happen, head injury that year?
Yeah. So going into my senior year, I actually started working at the juvenile jail. So I was working as a corrections officer at the juvenile jail. Said I had bills to pay, just trying to make it with
Mm-hmm.
football, school. So I'm training, leading up into the spring. So spring ball's getting ready to start, and things are really looking up. I'm projected first team all GLIAC. Like I'm like beyond ready to make an
Yeah.
impact because I've been injured every year, and I'm like I feel great. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is why I know I wasn't meant to play that my final year because I ended up tackling a kid in jail into a wall, and
Jeez.
so just as I was just chasing him down the hallway, like just getting ready to cut him off, I'm used to like I'm just a kid that's used to tackling like 200-pound kids, so this kid's maybe $140. So as I go and scoop him up, like immediately I just go into this brick wall, um, and that right there ended my career. I was like
Wow.
that was the time I had a talk with the coaches, and we were just all in the back in the meeting room, and I said, you know what, he needs a dad when he's older, and I said,
Yeah.
I have to hang it up. And then they gave me opportunity to coach so I coached there for 2 years, and then coached the DBs and the linebackers. So I always knew my calling was coaching because I couldn't stay healthy enough to play. So I was always
Mm-hmm.
the workout warrior, always the practice some games guy, but at the end of the day, I was always known as Coach Nick, Coach Krantz.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you know what? There's always a reason why things happen. Nick, and I think for you had this vision of where you wanted to go and all the accomplishments that you were already looking forward to having your senior year because you were a great athlete. You put the work in and you deserve these things. But then when an injury like that occurs again, just sets you to a different direction in your life. And for you, you knew that, hey, this is it. Like I have to be I can't be a vegetable. I need to actually be a cognizant father who's, taking responsibility, providing for my child and for my future as well, to where that leads. So then
Hmm.
after college and coaching, what kind of happened through your career after that in your 20s?
So early 20s, I mean, I was kind of done with football coaching, so I was just had some Gen Pop clients, but so I'm like, man, so I started working both those places. I'm like, I really like this. Like, I need to figure
Yeah.
out how to do this. And so I think 2017, just started posting more fitness stuff on Instagram because I used to make fun of this one girl for doing it after she got out of college, and I was like, you know what? If I'm doing this, why don't I just try and provide value to more people? Like I know I'm in this little bubble right here in Northeast Ohio. Why not try and reach, more people? So you just started to
Yeah.
connect and started to grow, and I'm like, maybe there's something I could do to make is internet coaching a thing, and just started to connect with more people, and then in 2018 I started to train clients online, and that's kind of like when I took off, and I was like, oh, so that you just jump and go, and then just say yes and learn along the way. I mean, said
Well, it's
yeah,
entrepreneurship,
I
right?
mean,
You just,
like you can't wait for the
it's, I
stars to
mean,
align. I mean, like
no, no,
you just have to go. I mean, there's no
take
certain time, there's
action.
no code, there's
And
certain things you might follow,
you
but
said
like
it
at the
best.
end of the day, you might like
Yeah.
what they do, but you find your own way to how it is you want to build. And like you said, talking about your own vision, like that ultimately comes down to you and what you ultimately want to do.
Yeah. No, I love it because, again, if you would have went the football route your senior year, do you think you'd be where you're at now? What, nutrition and
I have
coaching?
no clue, but probably because I just
Yeah.
I just feel like it was just right there. And the only reason football coaching didn't work out is it was just, especially as like maybe it's just the college level, like it's just so time consuming. Like I love to watch film. I love to, but like Saturdays and Sundays, like I'm like, man, this is a lot. With
The
family and
grind.
like I'm all about the grind, but that was not it. But boy, do I still love coaching in an aspect. So I think it all
Yeah.
worked out.
So let me get this straight. So 2018, you said your coaching online business is kind of taken off. And then December of 2019, then it happens. Talk about that day.
Yes. So we were going to get a Christmas tree. It was time to get the tree out, and it's something more farther away, wherever the horses are out there. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget. I've never thrown up from a concussion before, or even my major injury, and was just running back to the trunk of my Jeep to help my wife, and it was just open. It was just little corner, and I just hit this top right at the top of my head. But at the moment, as I was able to look back and pull myself out, it was like Space Jam. Like my soul was taken. But I'm like, when it
Wow.
happened, I'm like it took me a second, but I'm like the whole time I'm like, you've been here before. You can do this. Like it's just a little head injury. Maybe it hurts a little more, but all of a sudden I'm like, I can't drive home. Like, and then everything started to kind of spiral downhill.
Yeah.
Like the next day I'm throwing up. I'm like, okay, this is new. Like maybe I'm older. Like, and then it was just one thing after another, just starting to pick up of like wow, I can't look at my computer. I can't drive in a car now. Like I'm getting like it's just feeling very nauseous. I'm like things just weren't right. Just things just kept popping up, and I'm like, okay, good, maybe I should go to the doctor. And then 2020 came around, and things started to get a little crazier with just trying to get into hospital. Um, but I was fortunate enough to get into this one of the top places at Metro Health to kind of kickstart my rehab for what I had, and I thought maybe if I just completed that, that I would be fine. But I mean, they closed down
Yeah.
therapy early March of 2020, so
Mar-
basically had to do two more sessions at home, and like they just called me a month later and was like, "Tell me how you feel on a scale of 1 to 5." And I was like, "I never want to go back. I feel a 0, a 1, 0 is a 0. I'm fine." But no, I was not, and things continued to
Yeah.
kind of spiral downhill after that.
So talk about terrible timing.
Yeah.
So as you have this TBI right before COVID hits, and then you can't get the treatment that you need in person because the hospitals obviously at the time were just jam packed with COVID patients, and you're there like, what the heck? What am I supposed to do? I've never felt like this. I don't know how to do the therapy for this. So kind of walk through 2020 up until you said, if I remember correctly, it took at least maybe a year or so to kind of get back on
It was
feeling
it
normal.
was it was it was honestly 2.5 to almost
Oh
present
wow.
day. I've still had some pretty rough patches. But the thing is, I didn't know what I was looking for, because I didn't know. I was trying to articulate how I was feeling, and then as I went back to Metro, they started to tell me that, like, I just think you need to see a therapist. I just think that you're kind of, it's all in your head, and that you're kind of faking it. And so at that
Hmm.
point, I was like, like, wow, like just because I can complete these little balance tests, like I feel like I'm intoxicated. I can do this. This is like grade level stuff. I was an athlete for more than a decade. You're just putting me into a box. And I started to do all this research, more like just functional, of how the brain and the gut are connected. I started to realize, like, I couldn't eat ice cream anymore, and started to have a lot of aversion, so I cut gluten. Turns out I ended up developing celiac disease because of the
Hmm.
issues. So I started asking all these questions, and they just looked at me like, "Yeah, that doesn't sound right." And I'm like, and that's when I knew, like, man, so like it just felt like the Western medicine had just failed me at that point, because I'm like, you strung me along for like a year, and all these specialist medical cost of, like, that's what you say, that I'm crazy and it's all in my head. Like, it was almost like, okay, like, I'll show you. But at the end of the day, I mean, when your brain is sick, like I said, like I didn't have the physical, mental, emotional resources to. I didn't know. Like, I just didn't know. Um,
Yeah.
and so that spirals down into a deep depression, because neuroinflammation, and you get a TBI, you are more than 2 times likely to commit suicide. And it's a very challenging time to try and reason with yourself, with your brain being sick, because you just don't know, and it's hard to
Hmm.
articulate to somebody that's like, this is how I feel, like, what is the fix, like. But as I
Yeah.
come to this, like, where I am present day, it's at the end of the day, there's no one supplement that can make you heal. There's no, one exercise. Like, it's a full physical, mental, emotional, spiritual journey for you to ever get out of that literal, like, creation of, like I say, like, sick Nick, of, like, wants to keep me, like, down, basically. Being able to identify what could potentially cause, a stressor, or more neuroinflammation, just by basically thought or thinking about what could happen if I get hit, or even if I do get hit, like bumping my head from my younger son, like, if I can, like, reduce myself in the moment, because if I get angry and upset, then I'm already going to be driving my systemic inflammation up out the roof, and then that sets you back. So it's literally just a game of being able to control your
Jeez.
mind, your body, just kind of really just everything that has kind of come to surface health wise.
So I mean, you're in the health field with fitness,
Yeah.
right? And then after the second TBI, you go into the journey of, you said, the brain and the gut. So if you could boil it down in maybe a sentence or two, what would you say you learned in the last since 2019? So almost over 3 years.
I just had about like five, but if there's one thing, if
Five.
there's one thing that I definitely learned, is that you have everything inside of you right now. All the resources that you have that you need are already inside of you. There's nothing external outside that you need to go run and grab to buy. Everything that you need is internal. And I didn't believe that because I just didn't know. When you don't know where your North Star is of what you need, like it just all came from just reading and researching and understanding that like if I can't control my racing mind and my thoughts, like I'm already going to provoke symptoms out of nowhere. And I was like, well, you know what? You know, maybe those doctors were right. It is all in your head. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, slow down. Like that was all BS because, you know, they found I had developed an infection in the top of my meninges. Like it's like the thin layer that covers your brain. Like I said, just constant encephalitis. That's that just extreme neuroinflammation, the celiac disease, and then I have this, basically it's like a disorder of my nervous system. So it's a autoimmune condition that sometimes if I have a flare up, that it's basically like somebody's like just shaking my spinal cord and brain because my nervous system just can't like calm down. Which is why I had a hard
Jeez.
time early on in the basketball season going to games. And so that's the same thing of just showing up and pretending that everything's okay. But you know, I'm running out of the back to go throw up and then come back and act like I'm fine. I think that's the things that and another thing is like you will always, sometimes pass your hardest times alone, and that's why your mind is so important. Because if you allow your mind to run you and you allow those programs to continue to go on, and you believe those stories, and you believe that this is how you're going to be forever, then you're already lost. And so that's when
Yeah.
when you're able to ground yourself and be conscious and aware of your thoughts, who you want to be. Does this thought, you know, you have 60,000 thoughts per day. It doesn't mean you have to attach to each and every one of them. You can allow things to go by and you can take time to sit, but that comes with slowing down and being able to be aware and be present in the moment. And I think that's, as a family man, it can be tough, but it's just practice. It's
Hmm.
just daily practice.
Well, I mean, geez, it always makes me think about. I always have a gratitude every morning when I wake up. I always thank God for everything I've been given, and I think sometimes we don't, or we aren't appreciative of our
Mhm.
health. I think sometimes, and most people probably do, take their health for granted, and all the things that we can do to even maximize our
Mhm.
health. Let's say it that way. I'm a big believer of longevity. So, what things you can do that can prolong your life. And the reason for me, and I'm sure that you may be the same way, is I want to see my grandchildren. I want to see possibly my great
Mhm.
grandchildren. And with modern medicine, and I'm not saying that's the answer, and I agree. I think there's a lot of things you can do just by natural supplements and doing things that are proven to work to improve all the systems of your body, to function well and to be very healthy in your mind and your physical and your, you know, all the neurons and nerves of your body. Like for example, today I've been doing cold therapy,
Nice.
and I know you have too. And I think what I've learned is it just allows me to stay calm mentally, because it's a mental game. I think the first week was hell for
Yeah.
me. It was hard, and I just told myself, "Are you going to die from this?" No. So just calm
Mhm.
down. And it takes a while. It's still not easy, but it's easier because you know the end result, that you're going to feel better. You feel refreshed. I think it feels great for my body after runs, just to kind of just a shock to the
Mhm.
system. And especially baths are, I think, even better for you, just because I think it allows all of your entire body to be soaked and enriched with just being like
Mhm.
revitalized is probably the best word I can say. So, what have you learned that are just maybe natural therapies that have really helped you in the past maybe couple of years?
Yeah, well, to touch on that, I mean, that comes with purpose over pleasure. I mean, a lot of people are trying to just find the easiest way to, you know, build muscle, shred fat, to heal. Just the easiest pill, nothing like it comes down to, like I said before, embracing the suck. Like it's not, healing is not supposed to be like, oh, well, I don't want my body to heal that way, or I just don't want it to heal this way. Like, no, you go through all of the peaks and valleys.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like when I was trying just everything, I was trying every single. I didn't care if it would move the needle 0.004%. Like I was trying everything because as I kind of thought about it, I'm like I feel like I'm just like a crackhead chasing just one piece of health. Like I felt it sometimes, and I'm
Yeah.
just chasing it every day. And I'm like some days I have to be reasonable with like, is that obtainable today because of what I did to my brain battery the last couple of days? Like just comes reasoning with that. But I mean, I can't stress the fundamentals, the boring stuff more than I could. Like talk about before, just people I just talk with and just the overall internet, everybody's looking for the newest quick fix. At the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
walking is the most readily accessible, free thing that you can do. Put your phone down, just go for a walk in nature. I can't stress it enough because as sedentary as we are over the last couple of years, like walking is so good for your body, so good for your brain, your heart, and just to clear your mind. I mean, there's that
Yeah.
getting into that just flow of being able to break through in that creative, like it doesn't matter what area you work in, like just to be able to think clearly, and just get your thoughts back. Like I said, when your creative moments come when you're not trying to be creative. It comes when you're able to
It's true.
pull yourself out and being able to
Mm-hmm.
just be open. But hydration has been a lot because I have to drink more water than before, along with electrolytes. And I know if
How much how yeah, sorry, Nick. How much do you drink a day? And you could be specific with your sodium, all that.
so
Just go
with
ahead.
I mean an easy baseline, I think, especially for anybody, is you could just take half of your body weight in ounces, and then just add 15. So I mean, if I'm 200 pounds and I divide that by two, it's 100 ounces, and then plus
Mm-hmm.
15 depending on your activity level. So like if uh my water is 20 ounces, I'd be like, okay, so I need to make sure I drink let's make it at least 6 bottles a day. So kind of have it in your mind of like, and people, oh, I have to pee. Like, yes, your bladder
Yeah.
will have
Yeah.
flexibility, but you just haven't been hydrating enough. So when you're just 2% dehydrated, your brain literally decrease in size. And so when you are foggy, when you are feeling a little cognitive decline, like you feel like, oh, maybe I just need more coffee. Like, do you, or you just need to drink water, eat a little bit, and maybe focus on sleep at night. So literally getting back to the basics of like your foundation of going on walks. For me, all the woo woo stuff now, all of a sudden, like meditation has become a bigger
Mm-hmm.
part in my life. Not just because of just like the practice to check a box, but being able to always just, especially in the times of when I'm not feeling well, is to envision the healthy Nick, and to like I've been obsessed with yeah,
Visualization,
with Dr. and
visualization
the
stuff,
elevated
right?
emotion of Dr. Joe Dispenza of of being able to put yourself in that state before it even happens. So I mean,
Yeah.
you can't want healing and not feel whole. You have to be able to already feel whole to be able to receive the healing. And it's such a hard concept for people to understand. We're like, well, I can't be wealthy, and like you have to feel abundant before wealth even comes. Like you can't. You think that external trigger is going to trigger something internally? Maybe for that brief moment, but that's not long. That's not long lasting. And who's to say you are
Yeah.
even ready to receive it and be open to that? Um, but as I get off tangent, so when it comes down to it,
No, no, you're
yeah, I was just gonna say
yeah.
like
Go
going
ahead.
for a walk, meditation, hydration, any type of movement. I know, of course, strength training is always my recommendation. Some days I can't do it, and some days other people can't make it. So it's like that's why any type of movement, like even if you can get like a little micro workout, even if it's 3 sets of pull-ups and dips and a plank or something. If Even if you're still putting like 1 minute is better than 0 minutes, 6 minutes and 42 seconds is better than zero. Anything is always better than nothing. Uh, and then something that I've really safeguarded, and even talking to my wife, like you can't complain about being foggy in the morning if you're not protecting your sleep. Like you wanted to go to bed early, but you want to lay on your phone and scroll, and you don't want to try and do any type of like Epsom salt bath or either nighttime meditation to get your body into preparing to rest and recover, because that's your brain's opportunity to sleep and to shower. Like while you're finally done, like its turn to repair in your whole body. It's your regeneration process. And I think the hustle culture kind of, rise and grind, you just like, oh, 4 hours, 5 hours, like you're gonna burn out, period. And it's not gonna be a good
Burnout.
burnout. Like you're gonna be physically ill, like your immune system tanks, your energy tanks. Like I don't know what the end game is that. You start talking to more high level entrepreneurs, like, yeah, they sleep 8, 9 hours because they know what's ahead. Like that is their safe keep. You're not messing past that time. So I can't stress enough. And something too, even where, especially where we're at, is like still getting daylight even when it's foggy and cloudy. Like you still getting whatever sunshine is out there, or supplementing with vitamin D. 10 to 15 minutes in the morning, and trying to get, right before around bedtime to set that circadian rhythm. I said to get that body on a clock. And it's like I said, the boring stuff, the fundamentals that people think that they already know, like, no, that is your foundation. Once you master that, if you want to look for the things that might move the needle a little bit more, then go ahead and do that. But in the meantime, don't go looking to buy the best supplement if you aren't taking care of those first.
Yeah, no, that's sound advice, Nick. Really sound advice. What so let me ask you just the last question. Um if you were if you can go back in time to where you were in middle school or even high school, and you could talk to yourself, besides this, what you just said about hydration, sleep, make sure recovery, make sure you're moving, because you were always probably moving. You were playing sports. You were always active.
Not
What was
until high school I was. I was a skateboarder for
okay?
10 years, a little skinny kid till they talked me into playing sports.
Okay, there you go. You're still moving though on
I
that
was still moving.
skateboard.
I was still moving.
You were moving, Tony Hawk
Oh yeah.
style.
Oh yeah.
So like, but if and I know you have three children and one is in middle school. What's the dialogue that you preach to him in regards to like just maintaining a healthy lifestyle life?
I think especially in this day and age, it's not much of a I've done a lot of talking, but it's a doing. I think
Mhm.
he kids will shut you out, for 50, 60% of the time, but if you are showing, then all of a sudden it kind of set the light bulb off. And so, early on I tried to tell him, like, let's go downstairs, let's train, and I'm like, maybe I'm not pushing, maybe I'm pushing too much, but after a while I'm like, you know what, you know where to find me if you want to work, if you want me to set up a plan, like. And so it's really starting to catch on now of like asking questions and like, oh, like I forgot I didn't know we had this. Like, dude, that's been there for years now. Like you just didn't look. You don't see what you're looking for. But like the dialogue now
I
is really just I try and get him to understand the power in embracing the journey. Like right now, I
yeah,
talking to him today. I'm like, I got some protein for you, but I'm like, I need you to understand this, that there's no supplement for hard work. And like, this is just something to help you just get in some extra calories. You're extremely active. You're in that time of like your metabolism is through the roof, and you're going to be training now, like getting ready for high school football and high school sports. Like it's time to, if you want to take it seriously, I'll help you. I can't hold your hand, but I can guide you. But I need you to understand, like it is the love is found in the dark moments when you're by yourself in the dirt, in the gym, smelling rubber on the ground. Like you have to enjoy the hard work and embrace that, because all of a sudden you go play a game for 60 minutes, it's gone. Like it's gone real quick. And who's to say you ever make it get there? So like this hard work that you do now, it will translate into all areas of your life, no matter what it is. It's not just like you're training for sports, you're training for life. Um, but
that's
so I
so
just I
true.
just try to make sure that I'm, no matter what state I'm in, that I am still showing him like I can't preach if I'm not practicing. And so I'll tell him like that. I'll still dog you in every sport, every video game. Like I'm here to compete. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you going. Oh, you're going back to playing Call of Duty now. Okay, let's go. Like I'm here to compete. So I'm always just like letting him know like I'm ready. And so just keep pushing him.
Nick, you're just Nick, you're just like me. I am. I Oh, my daughter 2 weeks ago came to one of our basketball practices, and she plays basketball, and she played in a little inter squad scrimmage, right? So, long story short, at the end, I could ball a little bit. So at the end of the day, she's like, "Dad, I'm gonna beat you one day," and I said, "You'll never beat me." there's a reason why. And she said, well, why? Because you will never outwork me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds prideful, but what what everyone has to understand is this, is what you said, and I have the same value and belief system. You have to model what you want, right? So if we model hard work, good communication, healthy lifestyle, like that's what we're trying to emulate to our children and who we work
Mm-hmm.
with. So it's very important. And as a byproduct, before I came up here for this interview, my wife's working out. She never used to do this. I mean, it was 9 o'clock. She's working out. My daughter, she's talking to me now like, hey, I think I need to start doing this to get better or faster. And I'm not pushing. And I think that what they see, and I love what you said, you can't talk about it. You got to be about it. So if you are the model for what they need to do, and this is not only your children, it's for your clients as well, then they'll believe and have a vision that they align with you and say, you know what? Nick's doing it, and he's not perfect. I'm not perfect, but we're taking action to be better, and we're researching, finding things. But sometimes, like you said, it's the basics. The basic things that we know that we just don't do is why we don't become optimal and for our health, not only physically but mental health as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like these are your non-negotiables. Like until you're able to cross those off, and not just a week, not just a month, like we're talking day in and day out for years. Once you're able to stack those, then all of a sudden you're going to have, you can't even count the amount of impact you're going to have, just not on your own life, but just the results you're going to be creating. And I think that's just what I'm really trying to hone in on right now, of like, it's a journey, man. It's not, you're not going to be 190, 200 tomorrow. Like it's a journey of learning. Like you don't know how your body's going to grow. You don't know what kind of setbacks you're going to have. Like I kind of wish, looking back at my life, that he had, I don't wish for him to have more hardships, but I want him to, be able to have the world test him in its own way, whatever that might be. I think I was fortunate enough to have a lot of tests throughout my life. And I'm thankful for each and every one of them. I don't think I ever said, why me?
Yeah,
It was always try me. And I'm grateful that he hasn't had many, and maybe he has some that I don't know about. But like, it's you find out who you are when you get thrown to the fire and thrown to the wolves, and you have to kind of fight your way back. And it doesn't
yeah,
matter what kind of aspect that is. Everybody has their own battles to face. But said ultimately,
right.
it's up to you on what you want to do.
Yeah, it's perfect. Well, hey, you have done a phenomenal job explaining your history, your TBIs, and how to live an optimal life. And can you share with everyone just your information where they can contact you? And I'll put in the show notes as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm at NeuroFitNick on Instagram, and mainly I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. But that's the best place you can find me, connect, message. I'm always down to connect with other like-minded individuals and answer any type of questions in any way I could help out.
That's perfect, man. That's perfect. Hey, well, I truly appreciate your time. I truly appreciate you teaching many people about how to live a better life. And again, it's all about being the model for everybody. And all the adversity you went through is just what you can teach people about, safety for your body and health and longevity. So, Nick, you've been a great guest. I'm so appreciative of your time and also the knowledge that you gave everyone today.
Thank you, John. I appreciate you having me.
Well, everyone, re-listen to this episode. It was fabulous with Nick, and this class is dismissed.